Okay, folks, if you hear my voice, match me, match me, match me, match me. And what do we use these for? That's right, listening. How's it going, folks? It's Pat here from Asphalt Green's Recess Enhancement Program, here with another instructional video for you, this time for our game Freeze Dance Party. Now, before we hop into the game though, we want to make sure that we're starting off with a safety check. So, before we start any game and after we finish any game, we always want to make sure that we and our students are washing our hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. We also want to make sure that at no point during the game or before the game or after the game or any point during the day really are our hands going anywhere near our face. We also want to make sure that if anybody has to cough or sneeze, that they are doing the most natural movement possible, okay? And that is dabbing into their elbow so their cough or sneeze goes into their elbow. And of course, we always want to make sure that at all times, everyone is maintaining at least 6 feet of distance between each other, okay? If you feel good about the safety check, I just need you to give me 2 thumbs up, and then we'll get started on the overview of Freeze Dance Party. I'm seeing some thumbs, folks, which means that we are ready to hop into our overview of Freeze Dance Party. What's the name of the game? Oh, sorry, heard dance party and just, overtaken, yeah. So that's right, folks. The name of the game is Freeze Dance Party. Now, this is a great game for students in kindergarten up through 5th grade, okay? Or students within that age range or ability level range. It's also a game that can be played in any space, okay? Students will be standing in a spot and will be not really moving from that spot. They'll be dancing in that spot, but they won't really be moving away from that spot. So long as you have a space that allows you to space students out at least 6 feet apart from one another, you can play this game there, okay? With safety in mind, social distancing, in regards to equipment, students will not be sharing anything, okay? And the reason for that is there is no equipment needed for this game. The only equipment that you might use would be cones or tape to lay down boundaries for your play area, all right? So safety is covered. And I always like to say fun is a byproduct of safety, which means that this game is going to be an absolute blast, all right? I mean, it's a party, right? Why would it not be fun, okay? Throw on to that it's a rep party, and I mean, you're never going to have a party quite like this. It's going to be out of this world, okay? But let's get into the details of the game, okay? That way I can really show you how fun it will be. And as we always like to do when discussing the details of a game, we're going to rep it out, all right? And we'll start with R, ready. And we'll talk a bit about how we can get ready for Freeze Dance Party. So the first thing you're going to want to do in order to get ready for Freeze Dance Party is map out your play area and designate your boundaries. As mentioned, this is a game that can really be played anywhere so long as students can be spaced out and standing 6 feet apart from one another, okay? But the easiest way to set this up might be just having a line with cones or tape, right? And having students line up on that line while standing 6 feet apart from one another, okay? So, once you've found an area that allows you to do that and to set up in that way, you can just visually mark off where you want your boundaries to be for the play area, right? Where you want that line to be. And then you can move into a safety sweep. You can do a safety sweep of the area just to make sure that, any items that might pose a safety risk to you or your students are removed. And you can have a think about how you're going to work around any items that maybe can't be moved. Once you finish your safety sweep, you can gather up equipment, right? So you can take cones or tape and you can use those to mark off your line and then mark off any of the other boundaries you wanted to create, okay? That way students have visual markers for the boundaries. Once you feel confident in your space, you've mapped it all out, you've designated the boundaries, you feel like it's super safe and you've laid out the equipment so all of the students have visual markers, well, then you can have them gather up on the line. And you can use the attention grabber that I used at the beginning of this video to help you with that, okay? So you can say, if you hear my voice, match me, match me, match me, match me, and listen up. And if you hear my voice, can we line up between these 2 cones standing 6 feet apart from one another so I can explain the game we're about to play? So, as you just told your students, you're about to head into the E portion of the rep model, explain. Now, when explaining a game, it's always important to use a loud and clear voice so all students can hear and understand you. You also want to make sure that you're asking students specific questions about the instructions you're giving while you're giving them. That way, you can check for understanding and clarify anything that maybe you weren't super clear on. A few questions we would suggest you ask are, when do you dance? And when do you freeze? And what happens if you're dancing when you should be frozen? Those questions will make a little bit more sense as we go through the instructions. So I'm going to talk through them right now, and you can follow along on your printed out PDF copy or on the copy you found on our website. So the first rule of freeze dance party is something you'll already have students doing, and that is line up standing 6 feet apart from one another. Once students have lined up though, you can explain to them that they're about to have a dance party, but that it's a special one because it's a freeze dance party. Now, you can explain to them that you are the freeze dance leader, okay? And that whenever you dance, they have to dance too, all right? Maybe you can do a few dance moves and get them dancing with you. But you can explain to them that if you ever freeze and just stop dancing, well, then they have to freeze and stop dancing too, okay? The catch is, if they don't freeze when you freeze, well, then they're going to have to do 5 jumping jacks, 5 squats, 5 seconds of super silly dancing, whatever the consequences might be, okay? So they always want to make sure that they're paying attention to the freeze dance leader and dancing when they're supposed to and freezing when they're supposed to. That is freeze dance party. So that's an explanation of the rules for freeze dance party. So how about now we talk a little bit about the final portion of the rep model, P, play, and how we can play the game so students are abiding by the rules, how we can play the game so students are, having fun and staying engaged in it. Before we can do that though, can you match me, match me, match me, and listen up and gather on up and stand 6 feet apart from one another? Brilliant stuff, folks. Thank you so much. Okay, so when playing freeze dance party, it's super important to remind students to stand 6 feet apart from one another at all times. Students can get caught up having so much fun while dancing that they might forget about their spatial awareness. So just some gentle reminders are always helpful. You might also want to do a practice round or two. That way students just get comfortable with knowing when to dance and when to freeze, all right? Once students are comfortable though, that's when you can mix it up. Maybe you start the game, right, by both saying freeze and stopping your dancing, right? That way students both have a visual and an audio cue. But then, if you want to make things a little bit more interesting, maybe you mix up the commands, right? Maybe if you say freeze but keep dancing, students have to keep dancing. But maybe also you just don't say freeze. Maybe students just have to watch you, right? So messing with those cues can make the game a little bit more interesting, a little bit more challenging, okay? If students are even comfortable with that, right? They're not getting tricked and they're like, we want more. Well, maybe then you can just rapidly change between dancing and freezing, okay? That way you can catch more students out and then they'll have to do 5 jumping jacks, squats, whatever you've decided, all right? Those are just some tips we have. Feel free to add in anything that will help you during the game though. Anything that keeps students active and having fun in a safe way, it's all right by us. So the end of our tip list means that we're at the end of the rep model and therefore the end of this video. Before we head off though, can you match me, match me, match me, match me, and listen up? I just want to say thank you so much for following along on this video. I hope you found it useful, and I hope you have a blast playing Freeze Dance Party with your students. Stay tuned for more videos from us over here at Asphalt Green, and we'll catch you the next time.